What if I told you there are luxury SUVs out there? We're talking heated seats, smooth ride, premium everything that cost you less to maintain than a basic Honda Civic. Yeah, I'm not kidding. These are the kind of vehicles where you sit down and it feels like your living room gave you a hug. And the best part? They won't drain your retirement fund every time you visit the mechanic. Now, most people think luxury automatically means expensive to own, and honestly, for most cars, they'd be right. But these three broke the rule. They're comfortable, reliable, safe, and they age like fine wine. Kind of like us, right? Okay, maybe more like the wine, but stick around, because number one on this list genuinely shocked me when I saw the maintenance numbers.
Alright, let's kick things off with a vehicle that honestly doesn't get nearly enough attention, and that's exactly why it's such a smart buy. I'm talking about the Acura MDX. Now, some of you just heard Acura and thought, wait, isn't that just a fancy Honda? And you know what? You're absolutely right. And that's the whole point. See, that's not an insult, that's the cheat code. Because while your neighbor is out there paying German luxury prices to replace a water pump on his SUV, you're sitting in what is essentially a Honda platform wrapped in leather with a navigation system, a premium sound system, and seats that probably feel better than whatever you're sitting on right now watching this video. The Acura MDX has been around since 2001, and over the years, it has quietly built one of the most impressive reputations in the entire SUV market. Not because it's flashy, not because celebrities are posting about it on social media, but because the thing just refuses to break down. And when something does need attention, the parts are affordable and available everywhere. You're not waiting 6 weeks for a component to ship from overseas. You walk into almost any shop and they know exactly what to do. That's the beauty of sharing DNA with one of the most reliable automakers on the planet. Now, let me talk about what makes this thing so special to drive, especially if you're at a stage in life where comfort isn't a luxury, it's a requirement. The MDX rides like it's floating. The suspension is tuned to absorb everything the road throws at you. Potholes, rough pavement, those annoying speed bumps in every parking lot, the MDX just swallows them whole. You barely feel a thing. And the interior? Oh, this is where Acura really decided to show off. We're talking genuine leather seating, dual zone or even tri-zone automatic climate control depending on the year, a power lift gate so you never have to wrestle with a heavy tailgate when you got groceries, and visibility that's actually excellent for a 3-row SUV. You sit up high, you can see clearly in every direction, and the mirrors are generous. For anyone who values feeling secure and confident behind the wheel, this thing delivers. Now, let me talk about what's under the hood, because this is where the MDX earns its keep. Most models come with a 3.5-liter V6 engine, a power plant that Honda has refined over decades. This is not some experimental, untested technology. This engine has millions and millions of miles behind it across various Honda and Acura models. It's proven, it's smooth, it gives you plenty of power to merge onto the highway without that terrifying moment where you're pressing the gas and nothing happens. You know that feeling, right? Yeah, the MDX doesn't do that. You press the gas and it goes. Simple as that. And here's a little detail that a lot of people overlook: the transmission. Many MDX models use a conventional automatic or a torque converter setup that has shown incredible longevity. We're talking 200,000 miles plus when properly maintained. And properly maintained doesn't mean expensive. We're talking regular oil changes, brake pads, transmission fluid when it's due, and that's basically it. The annual maintenance cost on an MDX averages out to something that would make a German SUV owner cry into their steering wheel. Now, the super handling all-wheel drive system, Acura calls it SHWD, is something I have to mention because it's genuinely brilliant. It doesn't just send power to all 4 wheels, it sends the right amount of power to the right wheel at the right time. So when the road is wet, when there's a bit of snow, or even when you're just taking a turn, the system adjusts automatically and keeps everything stable. You don't have to think about it, you don't have to press a button, it just works. And for someone who wants to feel safe without needing to be a car expert, that is worth its weight in gold. But okay, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't tell you what to watch out for, because no car is perfect. If it were, this video would be 30 seconds long and I'd be out of a job, which my editor would not appreciate. So here's what you need to keep an eye on. First, if you're looking at models from around 2014 to 2016, pay attention to the transmission. Some of those years used an early version of a 9-speed automatic that had some rough shifting issues. It wasn't catastrophic, but it was annoying, and it's something you want to test drive carefully before committing. Second, check the air conditioning system. On some older models, the compressor can go out, and while it's not the most expensive repair in the world, it's not fun to discover in the middle of July when you're melting into your leather seat like a popsicle on a sidewalk. Third, and this is important, check the timing belt service history on older models. The V6 in certain years uses a timing belt that needs to be replaced roughly every 7 years or 100,000 miles. If the previous owner skipped that service, you could be looking at a surprise bill. But here's the thing, if that service was done, you're golden. It means the previous owner cared about the vehicle, and that tells you everything you need to know about how it was treated. So here's the bottom line on the MDX. It's luxurious without being pretentious, it's reliable without being boring, and it costs almost nothing to maintain compared to anything else in its class. It's the kind of SUV that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. It just shows up, does its job, and does it really, really well. Honestly, if more cars had this philosophy, mechanics would need a new career, but don't tell them I said that. Now, the next SUV on this list takes everything we just talked about, comfort, reliability, low cost, and adds something that might surprise you. Stay with me.
All right, remember when I said the next SUV on this list adds something that might surprise you? Well, here it is, the Toyota 4Runner. And I know what some of you are thinking. A 4Runner, that's not a luxury SUV. That's the thing my neighbor uses to go camping and come back covered in mud. And yeah, you're not wrong, but here's where it gets interesting. Because the 4Runner is one of those rare vehicles that manages to be rugged enough to climb a mountain and comfortable enough to drive your grandkids to school on Monday morning without a single complaint. It lives in both worlds, and it does it better than almost anything else on the road. But the real reason it's on this list, and this is the part that might blow your mind, is that the Toyota 4Runner is one of the cheapest vehicles to maintain in the entire SUV segment over a 10-year ownership period. We're talking oil changes, brake pads, and the occasional fluid swap. That's it. That's the whole list. Your maintenance schedule reads like a grocery list for someone who only eats 2 things. Now let me tell you why this vehicle has earned almost a cult-like following, and I don't use that word lightly. The 4Runner is built on a body-on-frame platform. That sounds technical, but what it means in plain English is this. While most modern SUVs are basically tall cars, the 4Runner is built like a truck. It has a separate frame underneath the body, and that frame is tough enough to survive things that would turn other SUVs into very expensive paperweights. This is the same engineering philosophy Toyota uses on the Tacoma and the Land Cruiser. And if you know anything about those vehicles, you know they're the kind of machines that people pass down to their children like family heirlooms. I've seen 4Runners with 300,000 miles on the odometer that still drive like they just rolled off the lot. And I'm not exaggerating to make a good video. That's just what these things do. Under the hood, most 4Runners, particularly the 5th generation, which ran from 2010 all the way to 2024, come equipped with the legendary 4.0-liter V6. And when I say legendary, I mean it. Mechanics talk about this engine the way people talk about a good steak. It's simple, it's satisfying, and it never lets you down. This engine doesn't rely on turbochargers, doesn't use direct injection on the older models, and doesn't have a bunch of complicated technology that's just waiting to fail at the worst possible moment. It makes around 270 horsepower, which is more than enough to get you wherever you need to go with confidence. And it's paired with a 5-speed automatic transmission that has been proven over millions of vehicles worldwide. 5 speeds, not 8, not 10, not some fancy dual clutch system that needs a computer science degree to understand. 5 gears, and every single one of them works beautifully. There's something poetic about simplicity, and the 4Runner wrote the poem. Now let's talk about what it's like to actually live with this thing day to day, because that's what really matters. The seating position is commanding. You sit up high, you see everything around you, and there's a sense of authority when you're behind the wheel that's hard to describe until you felt it. The seats are supportive without being stiff, and on the limited and the nightshade editions, you get leather upholstery, heated seats, a sunroof, and a premium audio system that turns your morning commute into a private concert. The cargo space is enormous. We're talking enough room for luggage, groceries, sports equipment, or that new piece of furniture you promised yourself you'd stop buying but never do. And here's a small detail that a lot of people love. The rear window on the 4Runner rolls down independently, not the whole tailgate, just the window.
It's a little thing, but it's one of those features that makes you smile every single time you use it. And honestly, at a certain point in life, isn't that what a good car should do? Just make you smile? Let's talk safety for a moment, because this matters, especially for anyone looking for a vehicle that's going to protect them and the people they care about. The body-on-frame construction gives it a natural advantage in terms of structural rigidity. It feels solid because it is solid. Later models came equipped with Toyota Safety Sense, which includes pre-collision systems, lane departure alert, adaptive cruise control, and automatic high beams. These are features that work quietly in the background, helping you stay safe without being annoying about it. It's like having a co-pilot who only speaks up when it actually matters. Okay, now for the honest part, because you know I'm going to give it to you straight. There are a few things you need to watch for when shopping for a used 4Runner. Number one, the biggest enemy of the 4Runner is not mechanical failure, it's rust. If you live anywhere that uses road salt in the winter or near the coast where salt air is a factor, you need to crawl underneath that vehicle and inspect the frame carefully before you buy. Toyota actually had a frame rust recall on some older models, so always check whether that was addressed. This is non-negotiable. A rusty frame is not a cosmetic issue, it's a structural one. Number two, check the suspension components, especially the lower ball joints. On higher mileage models, these can wear out, and if they go, you'll know about it. The good news is the replacement is affordable and any decent shop can handle it. Number three, fuel economy. I'm just going to be honest with you. The 4Runner drinks gasoline like it's going out of style. You're looking at somewhere around 16 to 19 miles per gallon, depending on how and where you drive. So if you're doing a lot of highway cruising, that's fine. But if you're sitting in stop-and-go traffic every day, your wallet will feel it. It's the one trade-off you make for owning something this durable. Think of it as a small subscription fee for never having to worry about your car leaving you stranded. And honestly, that peace of mind is worth more than a few extra miles per gallon. Here's why the 4Runner earns its spot on this list. It's not trying to impress you with gadgets and gimmicks. It doesn't need a flashy badge or a trending hashtag. It's a vehicle that was built to last, maintained for pennies compared to anything European, and it holds its resale value so well that if you ever decide to sell it, you'll get more money back than you probably expect. Buying a 4Runner isn't spending money, it's practically parking it in a savings account with wheels, and comfortable seats, and a rear window that rolls down. I mean, come on. Now, the last SUV on this list, number 3, takes a completely different approach. It's smoother, quieter, and it might just be the most underrated vehicle I've ever talked about on this channel. You're going to want to hear this one.
Okay, so I told you the last SUV on this list was going to surprise you, and I meant it, because number 3 is the Honda CR-V. And right now, I can already see the comments being typed. A CR-V? That's my mom's car. That's what they give you at the rental counter when everything else is taken. That's the vehicle equivalent of plain oatmeal. And to that I say, have you ever had really, really good oatmeal? The kind with the brown sugar and the berries and a little bit of honey on top? Because that's what the CR-V is. On the surface, it looks simple, maybe even ordinary. But the moment you spend real time with it, you realize this thing was designed by people who genuinely thought about what everyday life actually looks like. And they nailed it. They absolutely nailed it. The Honda CR-V is not just on this list. It might be the single most practical vehicle ever created for someone who wants comfort, reliability, and the peace of mind that comes with knowing your car payment is the most exciting bill you'll get from this thing. Because the maintenance, it's almost embarrassingly cheap. Let me paint you a picture of how this vehicle actually came to dominate the compact SUV market, because the story matters. Honda introduced the CR-V back in 1995, and from day one, the mission was clear. Build something that regular people could afford, could depend on, and could actually enjoy driving every single day without thinking about it. Not on weekends, not on special occasions, every day. And over 5 generations, Honda kept refining that formula until they arrived at what is, in my opinion, one of the most complete packages you can buy for the money. I'm talking about a vehicle that is consistently ranked at the top of every reliability survey, every consumer satisfaction report, and every mechanic's personal recommendation list for years. When the people who fix cars for a living tell their own families to buy a CR-V, that's not marketing, that's a testimony. Now, what makes this thing so pleasant to live with, especially for someone who's done with the whole I want a fast car phase and just wants something that works beautifully without drama? First, let's talk about the ride. The CR-V floats over imperfections in the road in a way that SUVs twice its price struggle to match. It's not sporty and it doesn't pretend to be. It's tuned for comfort, and every engineer who worked on the suspension understood the assignment. You get in, you start driving, and within about 30 seconds, you forget you're even in a car. It just becomes an extension of your living space. The cabin is whisper quiet at highway speeds, the seats are shaped in a way that supports your back without feeling like a medical device, and the visibility is outstanding. You can see everything, every corner, every mirror gives you useful information, and the windshield is so generous that parking becomes something you actually do with confidence, instead of a prayer and a guess. The engine lineup across the generations is where Honda's brilliance really shows. The fourth generation gave us a 2.4-liter naturally aspirated four-cylinder that is about as bulletproof as an engine can be. No turbo, no complicated injection systems, just pure Honda engineering doing what it does best, running forever. The fifth generation introduced a 1.5-liter turbocharged engine that delivers more power with better fuel economy. And while the turbo adds a tiny layer of complexity, Honda built it with the same obsessive attention to durability that they put into everything. And fuel economy, this is where the CR-V separates itself from everything else we've talked about today. You're looking at 28 to 34 miles per gallon, depending on the model and conditions. That is outstanding. That means fewer stops at the gas station, more money in your pocket, and less time standing outside in the cold trying to remember which side the fuel cap is on. It's on the left, by the way. You're welcome. Cargo space is another area where the CR-V quietly embarrasses the competition. The trunk is massive for a vehicle this size, and the rear seats fold completely flat, giving you a loading floor that's perfectly level. No weird angles, no hump in the middle, just a flat surface that's ready for whatever you need to carry. Suitcases, furniture boxes, that absurdly large dog bed you bought online at 2 in the morning, it all fits. And there's a little hidden underfloor storage compartment that most people don't even discover until they've owned the car for 6 months. It's like finding a secret room in a house you already love. Safety is where Honda went absolutely all in on the more recent models. Honda Sensing comes standard on most trims from 2017 and onward, and it includes collision mitigation braking, road departure warning, adaptive cruise control, and lane keeping assist. These systems are calibrated to be helpful without being intrusive. They don't grab the wheel away from you aggressively or slam on the brakes because a leaf blew across the road. They're subtle, they're smart, and they give you an extra layer of protection that works so seamlessly you almost forget it's there. Almost. Until the day it saves you from a close call, and then you remember exactly why you chose this car. Alright, now the honest conversation, because every vehicle has its things, and the CR-V is no exception. If you're looking at a 5th generation model with the 1.5 turbo engine, particularly from 2017 to 2019, there's one thing you absolutely must check: oil dilution. Some of those early turbo engines had an issue where fuel would mix into the engine oil, especially in cold climates and during short trips. Honda addressed this with software updates and eventually revised the hardware, but if you're buying used, check the service records to make sure that update was applied. Ask the seller directly and don't be shy about it. This is your money and your peace of mind. Second thing to watch is the air conditioning condenser on some model years can be vulnerable to small road debris causing leaks. It's not a widespread epidemic, but it's worth having a mechanic inspect the AC system before you buy, especially if the previous owner lived somewhere with rough roads or gravel. Third, and this one's minor but worth mentioning, the infotainment system on some 2016 to 2018 models can be sluggish and occasionally glitchy. It's not a deal breaker by any means, and it doesn't affect the driving experience, but if you're someone who wants a snappy touchscreen experience, test it during your drive and make sure you're comfortable with how it responds. If the worst thing about a car is that the screen takes an extra second to load your radio station, I think you're doing pretty well in life. So, here's why the Honda CR-V deserves to close out this list. It doesn't have the toughest image, it doesn't have the most powerful engine, it's never going to be the car that turns heads in a parking lot, but it might just be the car that gives you the fewest headaches, the lowest bills, and the most smiles per mile of any SUV you'll ever own. It's the vehicle that understands that luxury isn't always about badge prestige or horsepower numbers. Sometimes luxury is simply never having to worry. And the CR-V, it wrote the book on that.
So there you have it. 3 luxury SUVs that are perfect for anyone looking for comfort, safety, and reliability without the maintenance nightmare. The Acura MDX, the Toyota 4Runner, and the Honda CR-V.
Three very different vehicles, three very different personalities, but all three sharing one beautiful thing in common. They will take care of you without taking your money. Now, if this video helped you, if it saved you from making a bad decision or pointed you toward a car you hadn't considered, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Seriously, it's free, it takes half a second, and it tells us that you want more content like this. Drop a comment below and tell me which one of these three you'd pick. I genuinely want to know. Are you Team MDX, Team 4Runner, or Team CRV? And if you already own one of these, tell the world how it's been treating you, because your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear before they make their choice. Share this video with someone in your life who's shopping for a car right now. You might just save them thousands of dollars and a whole lot of stress. I'll see you in the next one. Drive safe out there.